They say a house remembers, that echoes cling to walls long after death has settled in. But what happened in 1977 on a quiet street in Enfield, North London, was no echo. It was a voice. A voice that didn't belong to the living. This is the true story of the Enfield Poltergeist. Cryptic Terrors presents the true story behind the Conjuring 2. Peggy Hodgson was a single mother, a hard-working woman doing her best to raise 4 children in a modest council house at 284 Green Street. Margaret was 13, Janet was 11, Johnny 10, and Billy, the youngest, just 7 years old. Their life was simple, sometimes strained, but never anything unusual. That is, until the house changed. At first, there were sounds. Knocking. A distant tapping that could be blamed on pipes or the wind. Toys ended up in strange places. Doors slammed for no reason. Cold spots lingered in rooms with no open windows. But it wasn't until the night of August 30th, 1977, that Peggy truly felt something was wrong. She rushed into her daughter's room after hearing screams and saw the heavy chest of drawers sliding across the floor, slowly but steadily, toward the door. Janet stood frozen in terror. Margaret cried out that the furniture was trying to trap them inside. When Peggy pushed it back, it resisted, like something was pushing against her from the other side. That was the night she realized they were not alone. The following nights brought more horror. Peggy would be awoken by banging from the walls. The children's beds would vibrate or jolt without cause. Toys began flying across rooms. Chairs tipped over. Cutlery clattered. But perhaps most disturbing was Janet. She began to act strangely, sleepwalking, muttering in her sleep, and then speaking in a voice that was not her own, a voice that growled, male, old, angry.
Tell us what you want.
I can't comment you.
You're frightened of me. No. Tell me how you are.
The family watched, helpless, as Janet would fall into trances, her eyes blank, her posture twisted, and then, in a voice deep and chilling, she would speak of things no child could know. She said her name was Bill Wilkins, that he had died in that very house, that he had gone blind, had a hemorrhage, and died in the living room chair. Even more disturbing when audio of her voice was played back. Experts couldn't understand how a young girl could produce such sounds without damaging her vocal cord. And then came the levitations. Janet was found floating above her bed, eyes wide, limbs limp. Her family screamed and tried to pull her down, but she remained suspended. These things weren't imagined. They were witnessed, photographed, recorded. As word spread, neighbors came to see for themselves, and they left frightened. A local police officer visited the home and later signed a statement saying she witnessed a chair slide several feet across the floor without anyone touching it. The knocking never stopped. Objects continued to defy gravity. Books, toys, even heavy furniture would lift or hurl across rooms. Janet's episodes worsened. She claimed she couldn't control her body. She would speak in that same deep voice, demanding people leave his house, telling them he had died there. Journalists visited. Photos were taken. Tapes recorded voices, knocking, screams. The family was breaking down. Neighbors were scared. And the thing calling itself Bill was growing bold. Soon, the case caught the attention of the Society for Psychical Research. 2 of its most active members, Maurice Grosse and Guy Playfair, arrived at the Hodgson home. They expected exaggeration. They found a nightmare. Maurice was a man of reason, a grieving father drawn to the unexplained. Playfair, a journalist turned researcher, brought skepticism. But both soon found themselves shaken. Tape recorders were placed. Infrared cameras were hidden. Night after night they recorded voices, knocks, Janet's terrifying transformations. They watched as she was thrown from her bed. They witnessed her speak with her mouth closed, in that same rasping voice. Hoarse. "I'm Bill Wilkins." Menacing. "This is my house. I'll never leave." The researchers tried to test her, asked Bill questions. He answered, about his blindness, his hemorrhage, his death. When they traced the name and details, they found the records. Bill Wilkins had lived and died in that house, exactly as Janet described. Whether it was a hoax or possession, it was undeniably real to those who were there.
And two for yes. Are you a male spirit? One for no and two for yes. Two. That's two. You are a male spirit. Did you used to live in this house? You did. Was it more than 50 years ago? Yes. Did you die in this house? Did you pass on? You did pass on in this house. Now why are you here? Are you unhappy? You're not unhappy. But why are you here? Is it because you want to give us a special message? No. You don't want to give us a special message. Are you having a game with me? Oh, right. As I asked the question, are you having a game with me? It's true.
News spread, and it reached the most renowned paranormal investigators in the world, Ed and Lorraine Warren. But before I tell you what happened when they stepped into that house, if you're drawn to real-life hauntings, dark history, and chilling mysteries, subscribe now and turn on the bell icon, because what the Warrens experienced in Enfield might be the most disturbing case of their entire career. They visited the home, bringing with them religious conviction and a lifetime of confronting evil. Lorraine sensed a dark presence instantly, something ancient, something mocking. She claimed the entity didn't want to simply scare the family, it wanted to inhabit one of them. Ed performed prayers of deliverance. They tried to bless the house, but the activity only escalated. Crosses were ripped from walls, a Bible burst into flame. Janet convulsed and, screaming words in Latin, a language she never knew. The Warrens warned that what the family faced might be beyond human comprehension. A force that fed on fear and wouldn't leave easily. But not everyone believed. Some investigators accused the girls, especially Janet, of faking the events. They pointed to photographs showing her levitating, which skeptics said looked like her jumping from the bed. A few tapes captured her laughing or whispering with her sister. Some journalists claimed to catch them in small tricks. Psychologists were brought in. They suggested Janet was reacting to stress, acting out to cope with her father's absence, or mimicking adult voices through ventriloquism. But those who lived through it, the neighbors, the officers, the reporters, insisted they saw things no child could fake. And perhaps most chilling, the voice of Bill was recorded at times when Janet's mouth was closed. As the media storm grew, so did the strain on the Hodgsons. Janet was taken in for brief psychiatric observation. The hauntings subsided, but never stopped. The family eventually moved, but even in their new home, strange noises returned. Shadows loomed in corners. Janet later said the entity followed her, that it never truly left. She described waking to find herself levitating again. Years later, the trauma etched itself into their lives, into their minds, into their nightmares. The case became one of the most documented hauntings in modern history. Books were written, documentaries produced, and in 2016, The Conjuring 2 introduced the Enfield case to a new generation. Though dramatized, the film kept key elements intact. Bill's voice, Janet's possession, the Warrens' involvement. But even Hollywood couldn't capture the raw terror of the original events. As the haunting faded, so did the headlines. But for the Hodgson family, the nightmare left deep scars. Janet, the girl who once levitated and spoke in otherworldly voices, eventually left the house behind. She married, had children, changed her name to Janet Winter. She tried to live a quiet life, far from the cameras and whispers, but the past never quite let go. When asked about it decades later, she said, firmly, "I know what I saw, what I felt. It wasn't pretend." Her sister Margaret also stayed mostly silent until 2016, when she was invited back to the house during the filming of The Conjuring 2. She stepped into their old room and said it still felt cold. Shivers, still felt watched, thoughtful. To this day, debate continues. Was it a hoax, a cry for help, a true haunting? No one has definitive proof. But those who experienced it firsthand never doubted something lived in that house, something beyond explanation. Even now, 284 Green Street stands quietly, a home with new residents who claim they hear knockings at night, feel watched, sense cold that has no source. The Enfield Poltergeist isn't just a ghost story. It's a story about belief, about trauma, about the fragile line between sanity and the supernatural. Some say it was real, others say it was an elaborate performance. Pensive, direct. What do you believe? Possessed, hoax, or something beyond our understanding? Cryptic Terrors invites you to decide in the comments section. And hey, if your lights just flickered, short pause, or your chair creaked for no reason, maybe that's a sign to like the video. Subscribe before something subscribes for you.